He heard the sirens before he saw the blood. Not the loud, close sirens, the distant kind. The kind that tells you the city has already decided who matters and who does not. Malachi Rivers stepped out from the corner shop into bright streetlight, hoodie up, hands in his pockets like he was just another man trying to get home. Except Malachi was not just another man. In Eastbridge, people called him Saint, not because he was holy, because even criminals had rules, and Malachi's rules were the only ones that ever protected his street. He took 2 steps, then froze, because under the flickering lamp near the bus stop, half hidden behind a toppled bin, someone was breathing like they were drowning. A woman, police uniform, pale face, one eye swelling shut, blood darkening the pavement beneath her side. Malachi stared. His first instinct was simple. Walk away. Police meant heat. Heat meant raids. Raids meant mothers crying, kids growing up without fathers. And Malachi had spent 10 years building a kind of quiet order in a place the city treated like a mistake. Then the woman's eyes fluttered. She saw him. Recognition hit her like fear. Her mouth moved. Please. The word came out thin, almost swallowed by pain. Malachi crouched just out of reach of her hands. He could see the badge, Detective Erin Whitaker. He knew that name. Every crew in Eastbridge knew it. She was major crimes. She had made headlines for cleaning up the streets. She was also the reason 2 of Malachi's friends were still sitting in cages, waiting on court dates that never seemed to come. She swallowed again, fighting for breath. You, her voice shook. You're Malachi Rivers. He did not correct her. He did not deny it. He simply looked down at her and said, calm as winter. Yeah, and you're dying. She tried to reach for her holster. It was empty. She flinched, panic rising. Don't touch me! Malachi's jaw clenched. Lady, if I wanted you dead, I would have kept walking. Her eyes watered, not from emotion, from the sharp reality of it. He glanced up and down the street. No one else, no witnesses, no help coming. Just the city, quiet and cruel. He pulled his phone out. Thumb hovered over emergency services. One call, anonymous. He could vanish, let the system do what it claimed it was built to do. But Malachi looked at her again, and something old rose in his chest. A memory. A night years ago when his little sister Layla lay on a cracked pavement outside a corner takeaway, lips blue, eyes wide, and a patrol car rolled by slow, then kept driving. No lights, no siren, no help, just a decision. Malachi swallowed hard. Then he put the phone away. He slid an arm under Erin's shoulders and lifted her with careful strength. She was lighter than she should have been. You're making a mistake, she whispered. Malachi carried her into the shadows. Yeah, he said quietly. I make a lot of those. Right here, quick pause. If you're watching this and you believe dignity matters, drop where you're watching from in the comments and hit like and subscribe if you're here for stories about fairness, dignity, and real accountability, not excuses. Now, back to it. 2 hours earlier. Detective Erin Whitaker stood in the Eastbridge precinct briefing room, sunlight pouring in through the blinds. It should have felt safe. It did not. 20 officers sat around the room, uniforms crisp, coffee in hand, laughing like they had already won. At the front, Captain Nolan Briggs clicked through a slide deck. Erin watched his face. The smile was wrong, too easy, too polished. He was the kind of man who made everything sound reasonable, even when it was rotten. Whitaker, Briggs said, loud enough for the room to quiet just slightly, I hear you've been doing extra work. Erin held his gaze. Following evidence. A few officers snorted. Someone muttered, She thinks she's internal affairs. Briggs chuckled like it was a joke. Careful, detective. People who dig too deep start finding things that don't belong to them. Erin's spine stayed straight. I found a ledger, Captain. The room shifted. A few smiles tightened. Briggs's eyes stayed calm, but something colder slid underneath. What kind of ledger? Erin spoke slowly. One that shows overtime fraud. evidence room misplacements, cash seizures that never made it into the system. She paused. Cash seizures that looked like they were shared. One officer laughed, a sharp, ugly sound. "Girl, you watching too many crime documentaries." Briggs lifted a hand, pretending to soothe. "Relax, everyone. Erin's just passionate." He walked closer. His shadow fell across her notes on the table. He leaned in, voice dropping, friendly enough to fool a camera. "Do you know what happens to passionate people in this city?" Erin's mouth went dry, but she kept going. "I copied everything. Names, dates, transfers. I'm turning it over to the state." The room went silent in a way that felt dangerous. Briggs smiled, then nodded. "Good." He clapped once. "Meeting over. Whitaker, stay behind." Chairs scraped, boots moved. People filed out, eyes sliding over Erin like she was already gone. When the door clicked shut, Briggs's smile faded. He stepped closer. "You've got a lot of faith in the system." Erin's pulse thudded. "Because it's supposed to work." Briggs's eyes hardened. "It works for who?" Before Erin could answer, he reached out, took her phone off the table like it belonged to him. Erin stood. "That's evidence." Briggs turned it over in his hand. Then, quietly, "You don't get it." He put the phone in his pocket. "You're not turning anything over." Erin's voice rose. "You can't do this." Briggs leaned in. "Watch me." Erin left the precinct that morning furious, but focused. She was not stupid. She had backups. A micro drive taped under her car seat, a second copy sealed in an envelope in her locker. She just needed to make it to the state building. She just needed to survive one more day. She got into her car, started the engine, pulled away, and that's when the unmarked SUV slid in behind her. Close, too close, no plates visible. Her stomach tightened. She turned left. It turned left. She turned right. It turned right. Her hand moved towards her radio. Static. Just static. Then her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Stop digging or we bury you." Her mouth went cold. She hit the accelerator. Took a hard turn into the industrial district. Warehouses, chain-link fences, dead ends. Her tires hit gravel. The SUV behind her sped up. Another car joined it, boxing her in. Erin swore under her breath. She reached for her weapon. Then her car jolted. A sharp slam from behind. Her head snapped forward. Seatbelt cut into her chest. She fought the wheel, tried to keep control. Then a second impact. Her car spun, slammed into a curb. Airbags exploded, white smoke, ringing ears. She tried to move. Pain flared in her side. Door yanked open. Hands grabbed her, dragged her out like she was nothing. She saw boots, not street boots, police boots. Someone punched her, hard. Stars exploded behind her eyes. A voice, close to her ear. "You should have stayed loyal." She tried to speak, tried to name them. Then something cold pressed into her ribs. A gun, and Captain Briggs's voice smiling. "Tell your little ledger hi." A shot cracked the air. Pain ripped through her body. She collapsed. Someone grabbed her badge, ripped it off like a souvenir. Then the world narrowed into streetlight, blood, and breath, and then Malachi Rivers appeared. Back to the present. Malachi carried Erin through the back alleys of Eastbridge, moving like he knew every shadow personally. Because he did. This was his map, his chessboard, his burden. Erin drifted in and out, face slick with sweat. "You can't hide me," she whispered. "They'll kill you." Malachi's voice stayed even. "They've been trying." He reached a rusted metal door behind an abandoned tire shop, knocked twice, paused, knocked once more. The door opened a crack, a pair of eyes, then wider. A man stepped back. "Boss," the man said, shocked. "That's a cop." Malachi walked in. "I know." They moved through a corridor that smelled like bleach and old cement. A room opened up, bright surgical light, clean metal, humming machines. Not a hospital, a private clinic. The kind criminals used when they couldn't afford questions. An older woman in scrubs turned, dark hair pulled back, calm hands. She took one look at Erin and her expression sharpened. "Gunshot," she said, sighed, possible lung. Malachi nodded. Can you save her? The woman's eyes flicked to Malachi. You understand what this brings. Malachi leaned forward. Do it anyway. The woman exhaled through her nose, then snapped into motion. Table, now. They laid Erin down. The woman cut the uniform carefully, pressed gauze, checked breathing. Name, she demanded. Erin's lips moved. Whitaker. The woman's face tightened, not surprise, recognition. Malachi noticed. You know her? The woman did not answer. She simply said, If she dies, your street burns. If she lives, your world burns. Malachi's eyes held steady. Then we keep her alive. The woman nodded once. Right. Lock the door. Hours passed. Erin woke with a sharp inhale, pain dragging her back down. She blinked. Ceiling lights, concrete walls, a beeping monitor. She tried to sit up, failed. A voice beside her, calm. Don't move. Erin turned her head. Malachi sat in a chair near the bed, elbows on knees, like a man who had decided not to leave. Her eyes widened. You, Malachi nodded. Me, she stared. This was wrong. Everything about it. Her training screamed, run, arrest, radio for backup. But her radio was gone, her badge was gone, her gun was gone, and she was alive only because the man the city called a monster had chosen not to let her die. Erin swallowed. Why? Malachi looked at her for a long moment, then quietly. Because you were left out there like you didn't matter. Erin's eyes burned. My own people. Malachi did not flinch. Yeah. Erin turned her face away, shame and rage mixing. They're going to say I was dirty. They'll write me off. Malachi leaned forward. You got evidence? Erin's jaw clenched. I had it. Her eyes snapped back to him. A ledger. Copies. Her voice cracked. They took my phone. Malachi's gaze hardened. You got anything left? Erin hesitated, then whispered. My locker. A backup. Malachi nodded once. Good. Erin frowned. You're not going in there. Malachi stood. I'm already in it. Erin's breathing hitched. What does that mean? Malachi's voice went low. It means your precinct ain't a police station. It's a business. And you just tried to audit the books. Comment prompt, mid-story. If you think badges should never make anyone untouchable, comment accountability right now, because the next part gets ugly. The next morning, the city announced Detective Erin Whitaker was dead. Not officially, not with respect, with convenience. A short statement, a tragic loss, no details, no investigation, no suspect. Just a clean, quiet burial of the truth. Malachi watched the news on an old screen in the clinic hallway. Erin's photo appeared, smiling, alive. Then the words under it. Presumed deceased. Malachi's mouth tightened. Erin, still weak, stood in the doorway behind him, leaning on the wall. They already killed me, she whispered. Malachi didn't look away from the screen. They want you dead twice. Erin's hands trembled. How do we fight them? Malachi turned. First we stop you bleeding. Then we get your evidence. And then we make it loud. Erin stared at him. You're a gangster. Malachi nodded. And you're a cop. He stepped closer. Your side shot you. My side saved you. Erin's throat tightened. The truth of it made her feel sick. Malachi held out his hand. Temporary alliance. Erin looked at it like it was a weapon. Then she slowly placed her hand in his. Temporary, she said. Malachi's eyes stayed steady. Good. That afternoon, Malachi made his first mistake. He trusted the wrong person. He called his lieutenant, Reese, to meet him alone. Reese arrived in a crisp jacket, gold chain tucked, eyes alert. Boss, Reese said, word is cops are sweeping Eastbridge tonight. Malachi nodded. They're looking for something. Reese's gaze shifted. Or someone. Malachi leaned in. I need access to the precinct. Quiet. Reese's eyebrows lifted. You're talking crazy. Malachi's voice stayed calm. I'm talking necessary. Reese hesitated, then said, I know a janitor who cleans there. Old head. He owes us. Malachi nodded. Set it up, Reese said. Boss, Why are we risking this for a cop? Malachi looked at him. His eyes were not soft. They tried to bury her without a question. Reese scoffed. They do that to us every week. Malachi's jaw flexed. Exactly. Reese went quiet, then nodded. I'll handle it. He walked out. Malachi watched him leave. Something in his gut shifted. A warning. The kind you feel before betrayal. In the clinic, the woman in scrubs stepped into Erin's room with fresh bandages. Erin studied her. You're not just a doctor. The woman paused, then finally spoke. Dr. Layla Saeed. Erin blinked. That name. She knew it. You were internal medical oversight. Layla's face tightened. Was. Erin's eyes widened. You disappeared. Layla's voice went flat. I refused to change an autopsy. Erin's stomach dropped. Whose? Layla looked at Malachi, then back at Erin. A teenager, black, found behind a club, bruises, broken jaw. Erin swallowed. You're saying police did it? Layla's eyes did not blink. I'm saying the official report said accidental fall. Erin's voice went small. And you said no. Layla nodded. And that's why I'm here. She tightened Erin's bandage with careful hands. You want to expose them? Erin swallowed. Yes. Layla's gaze sharpened. Then you're going to need more than a ledger. You're going to need testimony. Erin's eyes filled with something like hope. You'll testify? Layla's mouth twisted. I've been waiting for a reason. That night, Malachi stepped into the precinct, not through the front, through the service entrance in a gray maintenance uniform, cap low, mop bucket rolling. The janitor Reese promised was there, an older black man named Curtis. Curtis kept his eyes down. Don't talk, Curtis whispered. Cameras everywhere. Malachi nodded. They moved through bright hallways, white walls, polished floors, photos of smiling officers on community days, a performance. Curtis stopped at a door. Locker rooms down there. Malachi's jaw clenched. He was about to walk into the lion's mouth. Then a voice snapped across the hall. Hey! Malachi froze. A desk sergeant, white, late 40s, thick neck, coffee in hand, stared at him. You knew? Curtis swallowed. He's filling in. The sergeant's eyes narrowed, then drifted to Malachi's face, to his hands, to the way he stood, not afraid, not hurried. The sergeant smirked. Filling in, huh? He took a step closer. Name. Malachi kept his eyes down. Mike. The sergeant laughed. Mike. He looked Malachi up and down. You people always got the same names. Curtis flinched. Malachi did not move. The sergeant stepped closer. So what are you doing here after hours, Mike? Malachi's voice stayed calm. Cleaning. The sergeant lifted his coffee, then, slow and deliberate, poured it onto the freshly mopped floor. Dark liquid spread. Steam rose. Officers nearby chuckled. The sergeant pointed down. Clean it! Curtis's face tightened. Malachi stared at the spill. He could feel cameras, eyes, phones coming out, because humiliation is entertainment when you think someone has no power. The sergeant leaned in. On your knees. Make it shine. Malachi's fists tightened. For a second, the room held its breath, because everyone knew who Malachi Rivers was. Even if they didn't know it was him, they could feel it, the stillness, the controlled danger. But Malachi did something that shocked them. He lowered himself, one knee, then the other. He pulled paper towels from the cart and began wiping. Slow, careful, like he was swallowing rage and turning it into evidence. The sergeant smiled, satisfied. That's right. Know your place. Malachi kept wiping, and while he did, his eyes slid up to the security camera above the door. He held its gaze, like he was telling it, without words. Record everything. Because soon, this will not look like power. It will look like guilt. Malachi got to Erin's locker. Curtis stood watch. Malachi opened it, hands moving fast. Envelope, drive. He slipped it into the mop bucket bag. Then his phone buzzed. A message. From Reese. Now. 2 letters, too urgent. Malachi's pulse tightened. He left the locker room moving quick. Curtis whispered, You got it? Malachi nodded. Then the hallway filled with footsteps, boots, heavy, fast. Captain Briggs appeared at the end of the corridor, smiling, like he had been waiting. He held Erin's badge in his hand, and behind him, 4 officers with weapons drawn. Briggs called out, "Malachi Rivers!" The precinct went quiet. Curtis froze like stone. Malachi stood still. Briggs walked closer, slow. "That coffee thing," Briggs said, nodding to the puddle. "Nice touch, Sergeant. Keeps them humble." The sergeant puffed up. Malachi's eyes hardened. Briggs smiled wider. "You really thought you could walk into my station dressed like a cleaner?" Malachi's voice stayed flat. "You really thought you could kill one of your own, and nobody would notice?" Briggs's smile faltered for half a second, then returned, sharper. "You don't understand. This city runs on agreements." He leaned in. "You and me, we had one." Malachi's stomach turned, because that sentence meant something bigger. Briggs stepped back. "Put him on the floor!" 2 officers grabbed Malachi's arms. Curtis cried out, "Leave him alone!" Briggs turned his head slightly. "Curtis, you should have stayed retired." Curtis's eyes widened. "You know me." Briggs's smile was cold. "We know everybody." Malachi's jaw clenched. They forced him down, face near the coffee spill. The sergeant laughed. "Look at Saint now." Briggs crouched, whispered in Malachi's ear. "You saving cops now? That's cute." Malachi's eyes burned. "You shot her." Briggs's voice stayed calm. "I shot a problem." He tapped Malachi's pocket. "And you stole my solution." Malachi did not blink. Briggs stood. "Take him out back." "Make it look like a robbery," Curtis shouted. "No." Briggs's eyes flicked to Curtis, then to the hallway camera. He sighed, annoyed. "Fine. Let's do it properly." He turned and raised his voice. "Officer-involved shooting in progress. Suspect armed." Malachi's chest tightened. They were going to write the story before the body hit the ground, and then twist one hit. Because Erin Whitaker walked into the precinct alive, not in full uniform, not with a weapon, but upright, bandaged, eyes blazing. She stepped into the bright hallway like a ghost refusing to stay buried. The officers froze. Captain Briggs's mouth opened slightly. "What?" Erin's voice cut through the air. Erin lifted the phone again. Live stream rolling. She turned to the camera. "My name is Detective Erin Whitaker. I was shot by my own captain for investigating corruption. I am alive. And if anything happens to me again, you will know exactly who did it." She held up the drive. The blue ledger. Gasps spread through the station. Officers whispered. Phones came out. Because people love truth when it comes with drama. Malachi stepped into frame. And that's when the comment section exploded. Because the city knew his face. Some people hated him. Some people feared him. But everyone knew him. Malachi looked into the camera and spoke slowly. "My name is Malachi Rivers, and I saved the cop they tried to bury." A pause. Then he lifted his chin. "I did not do it because I'm innocent. I did it because I'm tired. Tired of dirty cops running the same street they claim to police. Tired of seeing mothers cry and hearing case closed." He nodded at Erin. "They thought killing her would keep you blind. But you're watching now." Erin lifted the drive. "And this goes to every outlet in the city in the next 10 minutes. The U.S. attorney swallowed. He knew what this was, not just evidence, a pressure bomb, because once the public saw it, nobody could quietly make it disappear. Commissioner Hargrove arrived 20 minutes later, not alone, a full unit, lights, weapons, authority like armor. He walked into the precinct like a king walking into a room he owned. His eyes landed on Erin. Shock flickered, then he smoothed it over. "Erin," his voice softened. "Thank God. We thought we lost you." Erin's eyes filled with something painful. "Did you?" Hargrove's smile tightened. "Sweetheart, what is this?" Erin held the drive up. "You tell me." Hargrove's eyes flicked to it, then to Malachi. His jaw hardened. "Rivers, you're under arrest." Malachi didn't move. He simply said, "Calm." "Commissioner," Hargrove stepped closer, "you think you can manipulate my officer?" Erin's voice cut in. I'm not yours. Hargrove's face twitched. I raised you. Erin's voice shook. And you used me. Hargrove's eyes flashed. Be careful. Erin lifted her chin. The city is watching. Hargrove's gaze slid to the phones, to the live stream, to the growing crowd outside, to the fact that this wasn't a backroom anymore. His voice dropped, cold. Turn it off. Erin didn't, so Hargrove did what men like him always did when they lost control. He tried to make it personal. He leaned in close to Erin and whispered, just loud enough for the mic to catch. You were never my daughter. Erin froze, her face drained. Malachi's eyes sharpened. Hargrove smiled, cruel. I took you in because your mother begged. She said you were special. She said you'd be useful. Erin's knees almost gave. The crowd outside gasped as the sound traveled through phones. Hargrove turned slightly, voice rising. This is a lie. Rivers is coercing a wounded officer. The U.S. attorney stepped forward. Commissioner, stand down. Hargrove stared at him. You work for me, too. The U.S. attorney's face tightened, and then Layla Saeed stepped into the hallway. No fear, no flinch. She held a folder. Not anymore, she said. Hargrove's eyes narrowed. You, Layla's voice stayed steady. You ruined my career for refusing to falsify an autopsy. She lifted the folder. I kept the original. Hargrove's smile faltered. Erin stared at Layla like she was seeing a lifeline. Layla continued. And your ledger is not just money. It's bodies. Silence, heavy. Then Erin looked at Hargrove and whispered, voice breaking but firm. Layla Rivers. Hargrove's eyes flicked. A crack. Malachi stiffened, because Erin had just said his sister's name. Erin's eyes filled. She's on the ledger. Malachi's throat tightened. Hargrove's mask slipped for half a second. Malachi stepped forward, voice low. You let her die. Hargrove's jaw clenched. She was collateral. Malachi's fists trembled. Erin snapped, voice rising. You killed a child to protect your money. Hargrove's voice turned sharp. She wasn't a child. She was a problem. The crowd outside erupted. Shouts, crying, anger, phones filming, because some truths hit like a punch. And Commissioner Hargrove had just confessed into a live stream. The arrest was not cinematic, it was messy. Because power never leaves quietly. Hargrove tried to step back, tried to signal his unit, but officers were watching phones, watching comments, watching public opinion shift in real time. One young officer lowered his weapon, then another, until Hargrove stood there with a badge and no obedience. The U.S. attorney stepped forward. Commissioner Hargrove, you are under arrest. Hargrove laughed, but it sounded hollow now. You can't do this. Erin's voice cut through, steadier. Yes, they can. Hargrove looked at her, his eyes cold. You're choosing him. Erin's eyes burned. I'm choosing the truth. Hargrove's jaw tightened. You'll regret it. Malachi's voice was quiet. No, you will. In the weeks that followed, the city exploded. 15 officers suspended, 7 arrested, 2 judges investigated, a councilman resigned. The headlines screamed. The live stream clip hit millions of views. And for the first time in Eastbridge, people didn't just whisper about corruption, they named it. Erin got her badge back, not as a reward, as a responsibility. Layla Saeed stood in a courtroom and testified, not for revenge, for record. Malachi Rivers did something nobody expected. He turned himself in, not because he suddenly became a saint, but because he was done being the excuse that let corrupt men wear clean suits. In court, Erin watched him stand in chains. The judge asked him why. Malachi looked at the room, at the cameras, at the mothers in the back, and he said, because the city only listens when the truth comes with a sacrifice. The judge lowered his gaze, because for once, the room understood. If there's one thing this story holds up like a mirror, it's this. A badge without integrity is just jewelry. A suit without conscience is just costume. And a system that only protects people when they can prove their worth is not justice, it's a transaction. Malachi Rivers was never meant to be a hero. Detective Erin Whitaker was never meant to need saving. But when the people sworn to protect became predators, the most unlikely hands ended up pulling someone back from the edge. So here's the lesson. Dignity is not something you earn, it's something you are owed. And accountability is not something you beg for, it's something you demand loudly, together with witnesses. Because silence is where corruption grows, and light is where it dies. If this story moved you, share it with someone who still believes fairness matters. And comment accountability. If you believe nobody should be above the law,